Greetings from the University of Florida Levin College of Law. My name is David Horrigan. I'm Discovery Counsel and Legal Education Director at Relativity, alumnus of the law school, and a member of the Planning Committee. It is my special honor and treat to welcome the gentleman who got this whole thing started. He is, of course, Professor William Hamilton of the University of Florida Levin College of Law. He is legal skills professor at the university, and he is the founder of this conference. Bill, I'd like to take you on a tour of how you got started. Frankly, you'll be taking us on the tour. I'll just be the guide through the story of Bill Hamilton and how this conference got here and how it is 10 years been becoming one of the great conferences in eDiscovery. First of all, you didn't start off in academia. You had a career. You were there in the trenches, a big firm partner. Why don't you tell us about how you were practicing eDiscovery law, your role as a partner at a large firm, and then moving into academia?
Yeah, well, we'll try and do the Reader's Digest version of that one, David. And thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks about the conference and how it evolved. Yeah, I was a partner, a litigation partner in a large law firm, Holland and Knight, and I was operating out of initially in the Miami office, and then I transferred to the Tampa office. And what happened was in the 2000 timeframe, 2003, 2004, 2005, you'll remember, David, the Zubilay cases came down,
Sure.
Which landed dramatically, in the legal community, because all of a sudden we realized that this new information container, electronically stored information, was creating new obligations for both clients and attorneys that we had never really dealt with in a significant way before. What I'm talking about is, the two Zubilay commands, or the Zubilay duties, as some people have called them, which is one that we as lawyers have an obligation to monitor and supervise our clients' preservation of electronically stored information. Well, this sounds so trivial now, but it was a big deal back then. It was something that we really didn't do in the paper era very much. The client would collect boxes, and there wasn't a big threat of boxes being lost in a couple of months when the case was getting started. But also we had that duty, and then on top of that, we had the duty to search the information and then to produce it. So all these new responsibilities were coming about very quickly. So I and another partner, a fellow by the name of Marty Jaron, who's since retired, he was in our Washington, D.C. office. We put together this program for the whole firm. And that was when Holland and Knight was a little bit smaller, only had 10 offices, I think, back then. And, it was one of those deals where we did this educational program for other lawyers, litigators in the law firm at lunchtime. Every Friday we'd have a lunch. And as you all know, the only way to get lawyers to come to a meeting is to offer them lunch. So we did that, and it was like a 10-week program. It was very successful. I had really been doing eDiscovery for a couple of years before that, before we even called it eDiscovery, and using this information to get the best results for my clients. So, I had a platform to work from, which was success. And lawyers, when they see success, they hone in right to it. So I was able to kind of do this. When we finished that program, I had basically at that point transferred to the Tampa office, and I was a little closer to Gainesville, fortunately. And what happened was I approached the dean and said, hey, I had to teach something like this as an adjunct because it's a survival course now. Law firms don't know a lot about this. Our graduates are going to go out there and they're going to get, lambasted if they don't know the basics of eDiscovery. So in 2007, I started teaching eDiscovery at the University of Florida Levin College of Law. And I would drive up to Gainesville and from Tampa on a Monday and teach a 2-hour course and then drive back. And, I continued to do that for a number of years. Every semester, actually, the course was a big success in terms of student participation and student involvement. They loved to get into things. And one of the fundamental ideas I had, which I had to learn myself. And this is, I come out of a philosophy background. I'm a liberal arts.
Right.
I'm not a computer guy per se. So I had to kind of teach myself all this. And one of the things that's like fundamental about it was I had to get the students comfortable with working with software and working with data. So what we did is we started bringing in various products into the classroom. And it was a big hit because the students would actually do exercises and do things like that instead of talking about the law and solving problems and thinking like a lawyer, all of which is very important, all of which we had to do. We layered onto that the fact that, well, we have emerging new rules, and on top of that, you have to use software and to manage the process. You have to get comfortable doing it.
Bill, I've got a question on the rules and your students. As you know, we had big changes to the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure in 2006. We had more fundamental changes in 2015. Were the students tuned in to those rule changes and how it might affect their careers?
Oh, very tuned into it. Of course, that was the basis of the whole course that I had been teaching, was electronically stored information presents problems. And we've got to shoehorn that into the rules that were originally invented in 1938, essentially to deal with paper. So the way we teach it and the way we analyze it is we're trying to manage this in case law. We're trying to manage it in our practices, and the rules are coming along to help us with this management process. And to understand the rule change, you have to understand the fundamental characteristics of electronically stored information. So it was all one package that we were working with together with the students to make them competent in electronically stored information. You know, as a result of teaching the course for a couple of years, about 2012, and of course, I'm still working as a full-time partner at a major law firm. I had, at that stage of the game, I transferred to Quarles and Brady. So essentially, I'm a full-time partner still at a major national law firm with a full-time litigation practice. But I'm
all right, so you're practicing full-time, Professor, and you started this whole thing off with a lunch and learn at the law firm. You've got your classes going on. What happens next in the formation of the University of Florida eDiscovery Conference?
Well, we started thinking it's not just law students that need this education. It's lawyers in general that need the education that we as an educational institution can provide, because we don't have any products we're selling. We're a neutral broker, if you will. People rely upon what we're saying and that we've vetted the information properly that we're putting out to the world. And frankly, we're getting a lot of requests from our alums to put on a program for the alums of the University of Florida 11 College of Law so they could enhance their practice. So we said, well, we'll put on a conference, and we thought it'd be great fun. And, we did. I think the first year was 2012, if I'm not mistaken, because this is the 10th anniversary, but we missed 1 year because of COVID.
Right.
It's really the 11th year we've been doing it. And so it was a big success. I can remember it was one of those things in the early days. Will people really come to this? Will they come to Gainesville for this? And of course, we filled up, the largest conference room at the law school, and it was a big success. So we did that for a couple of years, and it kept growing, and we had all this demand because we only had so many seats. And we're basically offering, for all intents and purposes, a free conference. We did started charging just a minimal amount, like $199 for a day or two of the conference, just so people, would have a little incentive to come if they registered and said they were coming, so they didn't take somebody's seat and not show up. But essentially, This is a free program. So we said, well, we can't fill it up anymore. There's not enough seats in the auditorium to everybody. We're going to have to essentially broadcast this. So we got the idea of offering it as a hybrid, in person and online. So with Maribel Rivera and some others, we began thinking about how we could do this. And we didn't. So we said, well, we'll offer $199 in person, but for free. And you can basically come online and with us and see the whole program for free. And we did that. And of course, we started having 300, 400, 500 individuals attending online. And it was another big success. So we're thinking we're really providing a valuable service here. It's a needed service. And then we started enhancing it in other ways as well. We wanted to make sure that we had diversity, inclusion, and equity. So, we made sure that, our faculty for the conference was appropriately put together. We wanted to talk about software still, so we'd have software demonstrations during the conference. We talked to vendors, such as Relativity, and Relativity has been great in showing their products, and frankly, Relativity has been wonderful in allowing me to use its software, wonderful software, with my students in class and going out of its way to create an educational program that's now quite large, and Relativity should be congratulated for it.
Thanks, Bill.
And then we started doing other things that were lots of fun. We had our story booth where the faculty members would fly in. This made our conference a little bit unique too. We didn't have our speakers and presenters just come and leave. It wasn't like they showed up and then spoke for an hour and left. It became a collective activity where people stayed for 2 days. And everybody went to everybody else's sessions. Everyone participated. And all of a sudden, the speakers were saying, this is a great conference. I'm learning more here at this conference that I'm speaking than any place else I've been, more or less recently. So it became very popular for speakers to come to the University of Florida 11 College of Law. And of course, this really reflects a tremendous generosity within our industry. If you're speaking at the University for 11 College of Law, I suppose it enhances your resume. And yes, you can talk to clients about it and all that's valid. I was a practicing lawyer. I know what it's like to try and gather clients and make an impression. But there's lots of ways to do that. And one of the ways that's not the most effective to do that in terms of client generation is to come to Gainesville for 2 days. Our faculty comes because they're dedicated to education. That's really what's behind it. I mean, we have a group of people that really believe that the judicial process, that the acceptance by the general public of the judicial process requires competence in electronic discovery so that we get the right result in litigation, that we get it at a fair price, and that we get it in a way that people feel that it's fair. So those are the values that bring us all together, and we all believe that eDiscovery is critical for that mission of dispute resolution in the judicial process, which of course is a critical function, of our government and our continuing quest for legitimacy.
Bill, another great thing about how you do the conference, you didn't just found the conference, sit back and run the conference, which is a major undertaking you do with Maribel Rivera and the whole team, but you actually participate in the conference and share the knowledge you've gained over the years. You're doing more than one session this year. Why don't you tell us about what you're doing both there in Gainesville, and I hear you've got a virtual one as well.
Yeah, well, again, we're trying to expand. We can't have all our speakers come every year for our faculty. So this year we're having our bonus sessions, if you will, which are our sessions that we're doing like this online that allow people to see our speakers that won't be in Gainesville. So I recently did a recording, one with Amy Sellers, and we're talking about legal operations. And she was really exciting about how the lessons we've learned in electronic discovery and the processes that we've refined can be applied to other aspects of the practice, the management of law with inside businesses and corporations, which is really exciting. I'm also going to be leading a panel, that is moderating a panel, 2 of them on Thursday afternoon, one talking about sanctions, how to avoid getting into sanctions motion practice, how to survive sanctions motions processes. It kind of goes back to the old original start of the whole idea of teaching in Florida, which is this is really a survival process. So we want to talk about surviving motions and sanctions in eDiscovery. And then the second session is going to be artificial intelligence and ethics. So that's going to be really a hot topic. We're bringing in representatives from your company, David Relativity, representatives from Reveal, and also from iConnect to talk about how, when they're building this software, they're thinking about the ethical concerns that are really important with this exploding technology that we have all around us. That's really important in electronic discovery.
Thanks, Bill. Professor William Hamilton, legal skills professor at the University of Florida College of Law and the founder of the UF Law eDiscovery Conference. We know how busy you are this week. Thanks for spending some time with us. We'll see you in Gainesville, and go Gators.
See you in Gainesville, David.